Hi, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live from wherever you are around the world. And welcome to this session called Graphic Design Tips and Tricks, focusing on XD. Now, before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create, and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'll be your host for today. And joining me is my colleague, Senior Solutions Consultant, Jason Grant. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me again.
Now, you're in the studio, aren't you? You're actually in the Sydney office studio.
I am. So we were trying to get this up and going today, but things being what they are, we still need to do a bit more work here. So I'm giving it a dry run, so to speak.
Yeah, I like it. Look, we did have a few technical difficulties. I'm next door to Jason. We wanted to do this literally live in person, but just such as the nature that it is. Now, I wanted to. Why don't we start off by just going through maybe what we're going to be talking about today? So we're talking about XD.
Yeah. So XD, I don't know if you can tell by the shirt, but XD is super awesome tool. I really enjoy using it every day. And what I want to show today, so typically XD is great for website design, app design, and so forth. But it's really useful for multiple screen design. So today I'm going to do a few social and digital designs. And that will be the first part. How you can actually use this. A lot of people do use Photoshop or even InDesign or so forth for these sort of designs. XD is really suitable and really fast to actually implement that. So that'll be the first session. The next part we'll focus on is using presentations with XD as well. So two pretty powerful parts. And then hopefully at the end, we'll also have some time for some awesome tips and tricks.
Awesome. No, I'm interested in the presentation part because we've all been in a death by PowerPoint presentation, so it'd be great to see what you've got. So where do you want to start?
I'm going to jump straight in. So I'm going to jump onto my screen. So I hope you can see that now. So this is something that we've set up previously, and this is a quick example. I want to show how far you can actually go with this. So you can see I've got quite a few different elements. So when you are designing sort of screen design, let me just minimize this. When you are designing like marketing materials and so forth, you have so many different platforms that you have to push out to. So everything from social banners as well as your advertising banners and so on and so forth. So this is where XD comes into play. So you can actually see here, and what we're going to do after this quick demonstration, I'll actually walk you through how to actually create something like this. But you can see I've got here a body of text, but now what happens if I want to change this? I want to make, let's make a headline, and you can actually see how it's replicating down through the other formats as well. So you can actually start to customize this. One change replicates across all instances.
Wow, so that's pretty powerful because you're doing it once and it's going through all of the other artboards there, which is great.
Yeah, one thing just to note, you can actually see how it actually also cascades down. So it's content aware around the layouts as well. So this is like even for these ones, it's actually reforming all the content underneath. And now from here, if I wanted to add, say, an image, so I do have a very quick image that I'm going to use. I'm going to just drag and drop that in, and it will filter through all instances. So you've done a whole range of advertisements and social posts and so forth in one instance. So this is where it starts to get really powerful. So that's what we're aiming to go through in the first session.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's something that people are not really aware of, that the power of XD, where you can do like multiple pieces of artwork at the drag and drop of a piece of photo that you just did, right? It's really easy to do, all that functionality, but I'm keen to see what else you got to show.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into how I've done it. So I've tried to pre-bake some of the assets already, so that way you don't actually see me making all of this content. But it's going to start with the very first one, which is the the headlines and the text and so forth, how they actually work together. So what I will do in this instance is I'm going to make each one a component. So here I'm just doing Command K to make these components. Now that means that once they're a component, then when I actually create it into a stack, that will be a component, and then there'll be variations. So it's going to filter back into the original component, but still can work by itself. So that's where you actually start to see it. So I'm going to avoid, just for time, avoid going in and naming each component, but you'll get an understanding really quickly. Now, for those that are maybe a bit newer to XD, so components are maybe reusable design elements, right? So that's where they come into play. So you want to design an element and then, do iterations of that, do changes, but, keep that design format throughout. So you can actually see here. So I've done these 4 design elements, and now I've made each one a component. Now every variation of that will filter back into that original one. So here I am just doing a quick replication. When you replicate a component, you can actually see the difference between the original, which has let me see here, you can see the green diamond, but when you actually go,
I couldn't hear.
Oops, Siri just jumped in. Then you can actually see the hollow sort of diamond throughout. So you can see that means that's a child instance of the original component. So now I'm just going to select all these. I'm going to group these, right? So I've grouped these components together. And now here is where we're going to turn on stacks. So stacks actually make it that content aware aspects to it. So you can actually see before when I was typing the headline, it would actually filter down and all the elements below it would move as well. So that's what I want to do in this instance. So I'm going to turn that on. And it has, yep, go on.
I was going to ask you, so in order to unlock stacks, you have to have got multiple components grouped. Is that correct?
It doesn't necessarily have to be a component. It just has to be in a group. I'm only using components because I want that to filter through all instances.
Got it.
Okay. So it should recognize whether it's a vertical or horizontal stack as well. So now that means that if I want to move elements around, you can actually see how it's moving all the elements as well. So this is where stacks can be really powerful as a design tool, and I can still play around with padding and so forth. So I'm using this instance for, one example, but, really the sky's the limit in how far you want to take this. All right. So we've done this, and I am going to turn this group into another component because I want to do instances of that throughout this. So think of this, we're trying to use the atomic design system throughout. So you have your very basic atom level, and then now we put it into groups, and now they're actually getting into molecules, and then it goes so on and so forth. So here,
I like
if I want
that's
to,
really good terminology.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that you've done components, then created a group, then you've created a component out of the group.
Yes. So
yeah,
tree headline. Sorry, I can't talk and speak at the same time.
No,
but you can actually
fine.
see here how it actually starts to filter down and move around. Whereas that instance, because it hasn't done the stacks, it won't do that. So we've done the original component. Now what we want to do is just Option drag, and that will give that instance throughout. So we're going to bring this down into this one. Now we're going to have to customize this to our original shape. So here you can actually go in. I can still remove elements out of this stack. So if I maybe just want to keep it as a quick headline, I can actually do that. Oops. Let me make sure it's fallen off my artboard, hence why it's disappeared. So if I can hover, all right, let's do this again. So I will pull that back in. So now that's on my artboard, and I can start to remove elements. And as I remove elements, I'm going to actually put this on a bigger artboard. There we go.
There it is. Yeah, so that's interesting what's actually happening right now, because you're trying to put it on the artboard, right? But it's not complying. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just because the element's too big, so it's just trying to filter it down, and as it does. So let's move this over to our big one. I think it might be the better one. There we go. Now, I'm going to use this as a background image too, and this is the way I can filter this throughout all instances. So I'm going to just turn this one into another component. So that's our background, and I will copy and drag this across here. So we can push this into the background. Then you can actually start to see what I'm trying to create here.
I'm keen to know what your keyboard shortcut was when you moved it to the back. I saw you do that.
Exactly the same as all other programs. So Command Shift and your, let me see, your bracket.
Bracket, yeah.
And that will push it at the back. So it's exactly the same. And you can see here now it's actually starting to show an instance. So this, the original one, if you do a option of this, right, and I haven't changed anything, it has that hollow sort of diamond. But once you actually do a modification, it will give you a dot in the middle. So you can actually start to see. So it's just a variation of the main component. So you'll start to get into this a little bit more. So let me.
Okay, so when you make changes, it basically gives you a visual indicator that there's been a change made to that.
That's correct. Yeah. So then you can actually start to do it. So here I'm starting to do some variations, and I might just turn this into, say, 44. So here, and again, I can start to bring in this as well, and maybe let's just reduce the point size a little bit. I can do that. And I am doing some shortcut keys here. So Command Shift, and it is, let me see, my lesser than sign or my comma sign. That actually helps do that. So here we've done a few elements, and I just want to tag everything. So I am shortening the lines because I don't want any text to go outside that grid as well. So
as you're doing that, Jason, there's a question that's come in. Nice. When you make changes, does it affect the original?
No. So because this is purely a, I am moving that. There we go. So no, because this one is a instance, a child instance. Only if I go into my original, and I will give you an example of how that works. Only when I go into my original will it cascade back into the other instances. So there's a few instance words I've been using there, but yeah, you can sort of get to see how that does. So I'll just remove this for now because I just want to quickly show you how far this can actually work. Let's do another instance here. And then I think I will avoid the leaderboard just for now, but I think everyone can get the idea. So we're going to slowly go into this text. And let me reduce this a little bit more. And I think everyone, let's do a little bit longer text here.
See, as you're doing that, I love how it's pushing down the read more button. Like, you know, you'd have to, and that's the stack element coming into play.
Exactly.
In the past, you'd have to just, you know, when you altered that text, then the blue bar would stay there, and then you'd go, okay, I've got to grab this now and move it down, and then maybe you make another alteration, grab the blue bar, move it down, but everything is coming together really nicely.
Yeah, like, I mean, once you get this set up once, that means that every other time you actually start to work on these sort of content, that it's just going to start to cascade. So it takes a little bit of time to set this up, and we are trying to do this really quickly so everyone gets the idea. So here we've got this as a background. This is a component, which means that when I start to put my pictures in, let's get a new picture here. How about we go Joshua? All right, drag that one in. Every other instance has that as well. So you can see how quickly and easy that it actually works. I might just change that instance because I think it's a bit hard to see the background text. There we go. All right, so now we can actually go back to our original component and we can start to say just short headline. And you can actually see how that does. And again, everything is cascading as well. I can still adjust my padding throughout individually, but you can actually easily scale that design really quickly, really easily. And as before, if we had to change our original, this is where we can change this and then it will start to cascade down. So you may want to say, okay, let's change the color. I am going to pick something that matches my t-shirt, something a bit pink, but you can actually start to see how that filters. So that's the master component. And that has filtered down into every instance that has used that master component. So you get to really control it from a granular level, but you can actually start to scale it across different things. And just say by chance you wanted to change an individual element, I can always still go in and do that as well. So, naturally, go on.
I was going to ask you, so why didn't that update the other two?
Because this one is my main component.
Main component,
right?
Yeah.
Which this one filters down to the other ones, but you still have that option to actually alter child instances with images or with copy changes.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you wanted to change the headline in here, it won't affect the master. Yeah, just like you're doing now.
Yeah.
Not so headline like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a really powerful tool. Again, you can start to scale this. Very simple to set up. So we did make our original components, and then once we started to filter that down, then it actually starts to cascade to every other instance. I can still come in and do my individual edits if I had to, but if you do spend a little time setting this up correctly, then the world's the oyster. So, and artboard wise, if you see here, when we make new artboards here, like there's a whole range of different social media artboards that we can start to use, and then you can actually easily start to pull these elements in as well. So here I've got my hero image because that's my main one. Now I can start to scale this as well. So awesome. Yeah, very excited. Hopefully that's useful. I know a lot of people use Photoshop to do these sort of things, but I think definitely XD, it's made for screen design. There's no reason why anything from digital assets you shouldn't be able to replicate and create within XD.
And there's also no reason why you can't have all screen designs on one like what you're working on now, one artboard, right? So you can pretty much have iPhone, iPad, TV screens, websites, all in the one, and then have it cascade through rather than have multiple documents set up for different ones.
Yes, that's right. I think once you spend that time setting up these, then you'll be able to have that workflow that will hopefully make it a lot more simpler and easier. Naturally, I can export out this content as JPEGs and so forth. So you can see here, I can select this, have a whole range of different ways you can export this out. But yeah, you can make it really super easy, different size formats and so forth, PDFs, SVGs, JPEGs. So, you can really start to scale this really quickly and easily.
Awesome.
So that one was the first one around the marketing assets. So what I want to jump over, and this one's your personal favorite, is for the presentation aspects.
Oh yes, keen to see this.
All right.
So I think you might be, without spoiling anything here, I think you might be showing some prototyping here, which is amazing that you can do that in this tool.
Yeah, so one of the strengths, so you can actually see up on the top left, if we have a quick focus, the design, the prototype, the share. So again, I'm basically going to give everyone a virtual hug because I know that designers have to do a lot of presentations for the wider teams and that. And this is where hopefully a tool like this is a lot more better. And I've got a quick example. So I've already pre-made a lot of elements, so you don't have to see me remake all this content. But it does give you variants as opposed to a linear presentation. You can actually start to do variants in your presentation as well. And I'll show you a few other aspects that you can definitely bring your presentation to life. So let me just start here. I'm going to show this. So you can see the overall view that I have here. So I've done this really quickly just so you can actually see. We've got the title, agenda, then you're going to have your content. But here is where you can actually start to pull in other elements and start to bring your presentations to life as well. And then the end. So here, if we do our quick play button, So you can do command return if you wanted to actually get this up really quickly. But I can actually start to go through here. I've got different elements that I want to actually do. And then I can actually start to build through this presentation. When I get to here, then I can actually do different states as well. So I've got all these different states that you can actually start to build on top. And I can go back. I've got video. So this is a new one that has come through here. So now we can have video files also play within XD. You know, you can actually see here. So this is a really powerful prototype that Howard Pinsky has made. So if you're really interested, this is an amazing sort of piece of work that they've done here from Howard Pinsky. I would recommend having a look for that one because it's super powerful how far you can actually take this. So you can actually see here. And then additionally, we've got LottieFiles as well. So LottieFiles is a very powerful vector-based sort of animation that you can actually get JSON animations out of it. There is a plugin called LottieFiles that you can actually get a whole range of different components and so forth out of that and actually use that within your design as well.
So here's a question. LottieFiles, maybe some people may not have heard of these. What would you say the difference between a LottieFile and a GIF is?
So it comes down to size, actually. So your LottieFiles, it is vector-based. So LottieFiles is really a small version. So if you're doing web design, any web design, as you know that when you're using images or when you're using a whole range of different vectors, it's going to bloat out your content, right? So you want to get it as small as possible. So that's where LottieFiles come in because it is super small, from smaller than PNGs, you know, smaller than GIFs and so forth. So that's where Lottie is super powerful. So here, back into the presentation, you can see here I've got a really basic component here. And I do want to highlight too, when you actually make a presentation within XD, like if I do a preview, I can use my keyboard to naturally scroll across, but it is best to set up the prototyping aspects. And I'm going to show you why here. So here, if I move this down, XD reads it from right to left. So it's really quite linear. So if I go back to my original, back to my title, if I hit across, it's going to jump the agenda and go straight to content. So that's where you need to sort of keep things in line if you want, but this is where prototyping comes into play. Additionally, I have built out a menu here. So you can see here, I can always use this menu, and I'll show you how you can build this once and actually replicate it across all instances as well.
And for those playing at home, that's typically called the hamburger menu, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it is lunchtime, so I'm sure a lot of people are hungry. So here we have here. So I have made this very quickly. And what I'm going to do here is start to prototype this up. So let's go prototype mode. Now, prototype works very simply. So you can actually see I have done this as an overlay. And I'll show you really quickly how that can do. So let's just remove this one, right? So prototypes can go from the artboard, which is this instance. So if I click anywhere on this artboard, right, I will be able to actually click to the next one. Same here. If I click on individual elements within this, I can also have this as a click through here. Now, it's always going to remember the last interaction you built. So what I want to do here is a tap, and I'll go into what type I want that. I actually want this one to be an overlay option. So it will give you that dashed line, and it will initially throw it right in the middle. So I want this to come in from the left, and let's make this slide left, okay? So there we are. And then here, it does a natural previous artboard. So when I click it, it will actually move to the next one. So now I've done this once. I also want to prototype up the different menu bar options. So as you can see, it does record the last one. So let's just change that from overlay to auto animation, right? So now we're going back to the original. Again, same for the agenda. And let's zoom out. So my content.
As you're doing that, Jace, questions come through.
Shoot.
Can you share the prototype presentation to someone who does not have XD?
Yes, that's always a good question. So from the design prototype share, so yes, you can share it for review and feedback purposes. And then you can also share my actual design. I have the ability to share my design to other people to co-edit. So I will come back to that, but yeah, you can have other people co-edit as well. So again, it takes a team to deliver a presentation sometimes. Okay, so we've built out all the different interactions, and as you can see, as soon as you click it, you can see how far you can go. I'm pretty happy with that one, right? And let's just see how that actually works. Sorry, I'll go back to my title and hit that. So if I have that, now if I click back, it will revert back in, but now I can go through this and I can click content and it will go to that. So built that. Now I've built that once. Now I can also, and I'm going to jump to design. What I'm going to do here is copy this, and I'm going to select all my artboards because I want to paste it on each one. So here it's all pasted.
Oh, nice.
So now we have that same element throughout. Oh, forgot that one. Paste. So you can select multiple things and paste it all at the same time.
And it honors the
so
location it originally sits in, right? So that's why it's gone to that top right-hand corner.
That's right. So now you would want to sort of build out. So that's just the menu. That's the simple navigation that you go through. Now we actually want to go in and let's link our artboards together. So here, I've already made this. So let me just remove that and start again so we can actually see what I did. And then if I drag this across now, I have the tap interaction, which will go to the agenda. I can also put multiple options throughout. So here I can actually put another one. So if I hit plus, I can actually go through here and I might actually turn this one into keys and gamepad. But, you know, I can actually talk to it and actually tell it to, you know, to move to the next one. So here I might actually just put my arrow and then let's just select the artboard. So I've got two interactions here. So I've got a tap interaction and I've also got a key interaction. So you have multiple ways you can actually do this. So here, if I go back to play, I can click it or I can also hit the arrow. So you can actually get both interactions into that same one. So you can do multiple interactions into that. So that's a super way to easily navigate through. The next part I want to show is how you can build out multiple. This is where you can actually build out your presentation and take it into different angles as well. It can be a lot more interactive as well. So you can actually see I made a couple of buttons here as well. And here, that means when I go into this, you can see I've got a hover as well. So now it's actually reacting like a, you know, like a typical, say, website or so forth. And it's important to make when you are hovering over things, it is good that it does show some interaction as well. So this is why it's important that when you are building your design elements, that you actually do show that when someone does hover over something, it will maybe give you an action in return. So here I've got this, and now this is a quick example of a whole range of different states that you can build here. And we're going to show how easy it is to make a state with my button as well very soon.
So can I ask you, are you just hovering over these elements here and they're just animating?
Just clicking through.
Yeah, you're clicking them. Okay, awesome.
So it depends on what you want to do, but yeah, you have a whole range of different interactions you can build out of this. So these are a whole range of different, and these can be downloaded on Adobe XD. So there's a whole range of different states and templates that you can use and start to incorporate. So if you are fresh to XD, this is a really powerful way that to actually build this. So I've got
a question that just came in. It's actually a really good question. So will the links remain intact if you change the appearance of the artboard components? So say a client wanted to do a complete redesign.
Yeah. So yes. So prototype. So design. I think this is why it's super useful. So design itself is pretty much separate from the prototype aspects as well as the share. So yes, you can design, So sometimes when, if you have a very intensive sort of design, you can have two people working on it at the same time, right? So one can be designing it and the other one can be setting up the prototypes as well. So there's no reason why you can't do that. And I'm going to show you, after I build this one really quickly, I want to show you how easy there is a plugin that is super amazing and you can start to incorporate it as well. Okay, so let's go back to the original one. I'm going to remove this one, totally delete this one and start again, because you can actually see here that this itself is also a component. So yeah, I'll show you how quickly and easy it is. Yes.
And to know what that is, remember, it's the green diamond, isn't it? Green.
That's right. I'm glad to see you're paying attention, Chris.
Have to be on the ball.
So here I'm just pulling this down. I'm going to just do this really quickly and easily. So I'll put that on top. It's here. So I also do shortcuts with my colors. So here it's really simple, easy. So if you do pick a color, you can hit plus and it will add that. So it's a really shortcut. But let's make this one. Let's keep it in tone, and the same with text. So here I've done that as well. So here, let's call this one states. Okay, so I've done a bit of a reverse of this. So it does have smart guides too. So you do get used to your smart guides that you can actually start to do. So there's my button, my original button. Now to turn that into a state and to make a hover interaction, you've got to hit that as a component. So up on the top right, I can hit component. So I hit plus. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can actually go into your library assets and hit plus through there, or there's also a shortcut key, which is Command K as well. So you can do it. There's always a million ways you can actually do something. So this is with components, it's exactly the same. So we've done this. We've made a component. Now over on the right, now I want to make a child instance. Now I want to make a state. So let's go back to hover state. So you can see here I have a toggle state, hover state. I'm going to turn that into a hover state. Now think of this as layers, right? So your original version default would look like this. Now the hover, when I start to change elements in here, it will keep this on a layer. So I've just done that really quickly. Now let's go back. So default and then hover. So let's make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it a lot bigger, just so you can see what I'm trying to do. So here, original, hover. So let's have a quick look. And then, so you can see how quickly and easily, that only took a couple of seconds as well. So it doesn't take long to actually build that. Once you've done it once, yep.
Sorry to cut you off. I was going to ask you a question about states. So could I, for example, could I alter the box around it itself and go from the circular style to like the square style? And would it auto animate between that?
That's a good question. And let's have a go. I think there's nothing like a live demonstration. So let's turn this one in. I'm going to give it just a slight corner. So this one is just for Chris. And let's go back. Look at that.
Ah, nice. So it automatically auto animates, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. So it does a lot of does that lot of work in between. So think of it, it's going from one state to the next. So now I want to jump over to hover. Now what I want here is to put a prototype into this. So when I click on this, I want it to go to this artboard. So now it does record the last one. So let's put that back to tap, over to animate. Okay, so we built this once. Now I jump back to my design state. Let's go to original and let's have a look to see if what we've done. Click and there we go. So
nice.
Built that really quickly and easily. And again, it gives it that extra level of detail throughout. And naturally, if we wanted to, we can also replicate this. And it's exactly the same as what we were doing before. So video. Now, do remember that what you're doing here, especially with text, jump to design, sorry. So here, my hover, you have to go into each state and change that as well. Okay, now let's turn this prototype. And the prototype is also recalling the last one. So let's move this over here. So now, very simply, we've built out 2 interactions. Each one works. When I click video, it's going to go to my video play. So
nice.
Yeah, and really simple, really easy. I think once people start to play around with this, we've got multiple interactions as well. It's really how far you want to take everything. So we can do quite a lot in this as well. Now
we had a question come through. Sorry, one more. So how do you actually make sure that it's accessibility compatible?
So talking around colors and so forth, there is a plugin. There is a couple of things that you can actually do for that. So there is a plugin that we do have called Stark. So that has, so you can actually see over here, Stark has Vision Simulator. It has the contrast checker as well. And then, so it gives you different options that you can actually start to play around with on top. So let me just select the correct artboard. And let's see what that does. So let's do Vision Simulator. This will show you, there are different options. You can also have a look through here, but you can actually see the difference of what it can do with the actual object itself. So
for people who might be colorblind, for example, this is just actually, enhancing the way that they see the colors in there, yeah?
Yes, that's right. So yeah, and it also can check point size and so forth. So it is quite a helpful tool to actually incorporate. So that they have a pro version as well, so which does have a subscription on top, but there also is a basic option that you can actually look as well.
That's a really good question. When it comes to accessibility, we just did a demonstration on Premiere Pro and the speech to text functionality that pretty much enables you to put subtitles onto video, and accessibility is very important these days. So, when it comes to that plugin, Stark, it's very powerful that you can do that within these applications.
Yeah, 100%. If you do want to check anything around colors, don't forget there is color.adobe.com as well. So if I go to my All Apps and Web, so you can always go into my Adobe Color. That has some accessibility options as well. So just in case people didn't see that the other day, it's another plug. But yeah, you can actually see here within this one here, the accessibility tools here. So you can actually check between colors, find out what you think works, and actually see how quickly you can make things fail, like I've done here. But yeah, but then it gives you that option to play around and alter it, to get that right contrast. But blue and green together would never really work or cut it, I think. So I want to quickly show everyone too. So within the plugins, there's some amazing plugins in XD that can definitely help what you're doing. So here I've hit the quick plus button here. So you can actually see I've gone crazy. I've got very excited and downloaded quite a lot. But here there is a whole range of plugins that you can actually incorporate throughout. So you can see Stock and Marketplace that has plugins through here. And if I type in presentation, we can see here, they have a whole range of different options available. So the one I want to focus on today is this presentation one. So this is one Adobe has made, which is really super useful. It's a great template that you can use to start, and it has a whole range of different aspects that you can easily incorporate as well. So I am jumping over because I've already loaded this one in, and you can see I've been playing around with this. So if I go back to my original presentation, so I might go here, let me see, back to my theme, sorry. So that there is a range of different themes already existing throughout here. So I might...
So you're accessing the plugin presentation on the side panel here, and then you can just select.
That's right. So I'm going to select, let's go minimal dark. Let's go the moon. So I am going to, and that will add my moon. my templates originally? No. Let me go back. Select. Oh, okay. Let's just start a new artboard. I think might be best. Okay. Let me go back into my plugins. I'll expand that out so everyone can see clearly. Okay, so let's go to our moon plugin, select. Okay, so now we've actually got our original moon. And when I select that too, it also gives options around that you can actually play around with as well. So it's a really nice way to actually use as a base. So I've done my original one. So let's go back on that. And then let's hit the plugins, hit the templates as well. And you can actually see here, I've got agenda, I've got paragraphs and all different options as well throughout. So it keeps the theme, but then you can start to customize. So it's a great base to actually use. And then you can actually build this out as well. So let's quickly add
I love that because it's got everything, everything inbuilt inside of it. So you're just choosing elements that you want. You don't have to go and rebuild this from scratch. As you're doing that as well, questions come through about the themes. Are you able to save and create your own themes?
That is a good question. I believe they are building that out. So yeah, I hope in the future, yeah, it will be included, but I don't believe you can do it at the moment. But that's something they should definitely look into, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I think my last one. So I've done quite a few different elements here. So once you've selected some basic, titles throughout here, let's just remove my blank page and move this around as well. So I've got each one. I can still go in, click, change certain elements as well. So when I actually do select on an element, so let's go here, you can actually see there's a whole range of the color palettes as well that are available as on top, the text styles to help keep that consistency throughout. So we've done quite a few different things, and then elements. So you can actually go in and there's certain iconography that you can use, basic imagery. But again, if you're going to make your own presentation, I'm sure you've got your own images that you can utilize on top.
That was a question that just came through. Can you replace the pictures in the template? So my understanding is that you could, and yes, you can.
Yeah, you would. Maybe
we've got about 10 minutes to go as well, Jace.
All right, awesome. So just going back, yeah, I can always pull in my own imagery here, and drag that on as well. So depending on how you want to do it, it's really up to your option. But what I also find good, if you start to build out a theme, I can go in and re-edit that theme to another option as well. So, the sky's the limit in how far you can actually bring it.
So if you already have an existing theme, you can just swap it to another theme.
That's right.
And keep all the content inside it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, so it's super useful in how you actually do that as on top. So I really enjoy that aspects as well. So I think once you have made an option through here, so I just want to show, and I'll go back to my original presentation. Just quickly open that one. Right, once you have created and you're happy where this is at, the next part of that process, and if you want to use the plugin, that's fine. The next part is sharing that off. Right, so you can actually see I've built this out already. Now, when you do share this off, there are a few different options. So if it's a review process and you want people to comment and feedback on this, you can actually do that through design review, right? Say presentation option, you can do that, or you can present directly from here with using that play button. So you can actually do that as well. So it's actually always remembering my last click, but I can also do that as well. So let me go here. Yeah. So I can build everything from here, so on and so forth. So you can, once moving to share, I can generate a link depending on what I want. And then you can see here, if I click that, it's going to open it up in a browser, and other people as well can actually start to use that on top. So here I've built this out so they can actually use this, view this, and start to utilize this as well. So,
and this is where that question earlier came through. They don't need to have XD, right? You can just share them a browser link, and then they can just go to that link and have the same interaction from there.
Yeah, that's correct. And then if you wanted other people to work on it, you will need to save this as a cloud document itself. So if we do save this as a cloud document, that means, okay, now it's accessible for others to actually start to use and utilize. And then you can actually start to build that. So as soon as that has uploaded, then I can add you in so you can finish all my work.
We'll talk about that later. But look, we've just had a question come in, and they're saying, bit of a silly question, but I actually like this question. Speaking of UX, are you a dark mode or a light mode user?
I am a dark mode. Yes, definitely.
Okay,
I love it.
Interesting. I'm gonna answer that for me as well. I use both, and I get it, to change at sunset and sunrise. So in the nighttime it'll be dark, in the daytime it'll be light mode. So don't discriminate. Just see how they both look.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing too I want to show as well, which is actually super useful here, is that within, if you're creating maybe a presentation, it doesn't always have to stick to this format. So I know we've got about another 5 more minutes. So I do want to show how easy it is to set up. It can be a parallaxing page within this, right? So here, we've made this quite long. And let's just grab this as an example. I'm going to put this right down the bottom here. And I am going to turn this into an anchor limit. An anchor portal. So let us make a quick button. So we have already made our component. So let's pull over our component here. And you can actually see how I can easily incorporate this one. So it's got the exact same, right? And you can actually anchor this to multiple areas within your design. So this is where it starts to get really fun. And let's make sure we change both options. Anchor. Go back. And always, you have to always remember, go back to the default state, okay? Because it will remember the last one. So now we've done this, and when we want to put our prototype on this, right? So it is remembering that last one. So I might just delete that. And I am going to drag this one down to here, right? So this is a scroll to. So it's scrolling down the page to our anchor down here, okay? Super useful. And while we're at it, let's just add a quick little bit of design just for, so you can actually see what I'm going to do here.
We've got about 5 to go, just letting you know.
That's all right. This will be 20 seconds.
I see what you're doing.
So there we go. So now, and I am using my shortkeys as much as possible because it does save a lot of time. Okay, so back to our original. Let's hit play, right? So it is showing up in that state, and I can use my trackpad to scroll up if I wanted to, or if I actually wanted to, and I did just not listen to my own advice and forget to revert it back to the original state. So let me go back, do that, and let's play again. So here, and then really quick, it jumped right down. So let's slow that down. So we can, don't forget, within your interactions themselves, you can easily go back and slow these down as well. So if I'm in my prototype, I've got my time, so I can turn into different easing options. So let's maybe do snap, but let's slow that down to about 1 second.
Yeah, let's see this in action.
So I go here, there we go. And you see that nice little,
and it has a little bump at the end, little animation.
That's it, it's snapping. But yeah, really great, really useful. And again, with XD now, you can do so much more as well. So if you wanted to, I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I will keep going until you physically stop me, but video as well has come into play. So this is where there is so many different options that you have available. So if I jump back, so here If I drag over a simple video onto the page, works the same here. So I have a very basic here. You can see over here on the video tool, I can actually do quite a lot. So I can have thumbnails on top of this. If I hit play, it's going to show a quick example. But I have that option to either turn off the sound, even to trim, give it a basic, a quick trim through here. So if I hit the plus.
Wait a minute, you're editing the video inside of
trim in
XD.
I can,
I can
trim it. I can trim it and I can loop it for now. So you can do quite a lot through here, and then that will actually do that. So when I hit play, so I have to tap to play it. Again, very same. You can see here, play on tap, play automatically, or no playback. So you do have different ways you can actually manage this as well. So very, very great way to actually easily add videos. There is a limitation. You do need to make sure that at the moment, the videos have to be under 15 megs. And I believe there's only about 20 you can add to one sort of prototype page as well.
Okay.
But, you know, I think 20 is quite a lot.
20 is quite a lot. Otherwise, it would start to probably slow down a bit. But question, favorite feature from the last 2 sessions?
Favorite feature. Well, you can see by my shirt, I am a fan of XD. So I always love XD. Everything I do love that you can do videos now, but I think one thing that I haven't shown, and I do because it's down to my last second, I do love stacks. That is definitely one of my favorites. But what I really also like too is if I go to have a quick example that I've pre-baked here as well, is that you can also do scroll groups as well. So here you can actually see how quite long this is, right? If you wanted to have this as a page and I wanted to scroll through that, I can actually easily create scroll groups as well. So here, and that's quite simple. If I hit that, so this is a horizontal one. So now it actually gives you a quick sort of a handle that you can easily bring that in. And if I hit play, now I can actually use my trackpad to scroll across as well. So again, you can do that horizontally, vertically, or you can do it in all directions. Maybe all directions is really useful for, say, maps or something like that. So you can mimic that process as well.
I'm going to have to say stacks would have been mine as well. So we were both aligned on that, which is great. Now, that's all we have time, Jace. That has been amazing. Love seeing video in XD as well. I can't wait to see what else we can do with that. But thank you so much for your time, especially putting the time you spent putting all those demo assets together for the audience. And I'm really looking forward to the next one, and I hope to see you all there.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.